All right, everyone. Welcome to the full camera review for the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now, I'm going to do today's camera review / camera walkthrough, including the photo and video samples for the iPhone 13 Pro Max a little bit differently. Now, being as this particular device is basically the same as the iPhone 15 Plus, I'm not going to go through a whole dedicated camera walkthrough portion. I'm just going to highlight the differences, and then I'm going to attach the photo and the video samples for everyone. Now, keep in mind, as with all of these camera reviews or these camera walkthroughs, everything will be timestamped for your convenience down below in the video description, and there will be links to all of my other coverage as well and all of my recommended coverage as well. So check out the video description if you'd like to jump around to different parts of the video if you'd like to know more. That being said, let's get into today's video. Now, the only difference between the iPhone 15 Plus and the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and yes, I have taken my SIM out of it, that's why you see it's in SOS mode, is the camera setup and some camera settings. And you guys and gals will hear me reference the camera setup throughout this camera review video. But in terms of the cameras, we have one front-facing camera with the LiDAR sensors and IR sensors for the Face ID. And then we have a triple 12 megapixel camera setup on the rear, an ultra-wide, a primary, and a telephoto. All right? That's the only difference between the 15 Plus and the 13 Pro Max. Now, the 15 Plus has a 48 and 12 megapixel dual camera setup on the rear, and then a front-facing 12 megapixel camera setup. They call it 24, but it auto pixel bins down to 12. So I pretty much call it 12. But that's the difference there. And then if we jump into the settings and we go down to the cameras, now this is before the newer iOS 26 update that will change the look of the cameras and some camera settings, but all of my iOS devices are running official iOS software, which as of the recording of this video is iOS 18.5. But if we jump into the cameras, okay, and let's highlight these differences. So everything is the same as the iPhone 15 Plus, except for if we scroll down here, you can see the 13 Pro Max has a macro camera control setting. And basically what this does is this lets you use the ultra wide camera to take macro photos. Okay? Now, I did not take any macro photos in this video. The thing that I like is the ultra-wide cameras, the primary cameras, and then the selfie cameras. That's the only thing that I really tested in this camera review in terms of the photos, right? In terms of the videos, I tested everything, okay? And you guys and gals will see that throughout this camera review. But that's the only difference between the 13 Pro Max and the 15 Plus. For the 15 Plus, you don't have this macro camera control. So for the 15 Plus, you cannot use the ultra wide camera to take macro shots. For the 13 Pro Max, you can. Okay? That's something I wanted to highlight for everyone. And that's basically the only thing I wanted to highlight for everyone. With that being said, now I'm going to go ahead and attach my photo samples and I'm going to attach my video samples. And at the end of the video, I'm going to let you guys and gals know if the iPhone 13 Pro Max is still worth picking up, strictly based on its overall camera performance. And spoiler alert, based on the price as well, you could actually get this 13 Pro Max in the storage that I would recommend, which is $256, for a really great price. Check out the affiliate links down below in the video description if you guys and gals want to help support the channel and pick up the devices that I talk about and recommend at a really great price. All right, enjoy the rest of the video, everyone. Have a good one, and I'll catch you guys and gals on the next one. Peace for now.
feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me, and what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour, take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder. And f*** all the doubters, they're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. Yo, I'm just telling you to fight for your dreams, but it's not what it seems. Man, it's hard to be seen when everybody wants to be king. Yeah, they all wanna ring, yeah, we all wanna be free. So show me what you got, what you bring, how you fight in the ring, how you take a fucking swing.
Alright everyone, and now we are getting into testing out the front and the rear facing cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Starting off here, we're testing out the front facing cameras outdoors in really good lighting. And this is the front facing 12 megapixel camera, and this video is being recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. So please let me know what you guys and gals feel the camera quality is looking like. How's the overall audio? How's the overall stabilization? How's the overall detail? Please leave your feedback down below. Now let's spin the cameras around and let's get into testing out the rear facing cameras in this same lighting scenario. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back with everyone for the next set of clips. I'll see y'all in a little bit. Alright everyone, and now we're gonna test out the rear facing triple 12 megapixel camera setup on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. This again is another camera clip recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. And again, please let me know how you guys and gals feel the overall video quality is, the overall stabilization, the overall colors, and the overall audio is down below in the comments. As always, all your feedback is greatly appreciated. Now let's get into testing out the rear facing cameras in this really good lighting scenario here. Alright, so we're going to do some pan tests, we're going to do some exposure tests, we're going to do some focus testing, and then we're going to round out the testing out the zoom. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start off with the pan testing first. So we're going to pan from here, and we're testing out the ultra wide camera first as well, all the way through to right about here and back. We're going to do this 2 times, so that was 1. Here we go with number 2 and back. All right, so that was the ultra wide. Now let's switch to the primary 12 megapixel sensor and pay special attention to the changes in field of view and the changes in detail and camera quality. All right, that's what all this testing is for. All right, so now we're gonna do the same pan testing with the primary 12 megapixel camera. So we're gonna start from here all the way through to right about there and back. So that was 1. Here we go with number 2. And let's come on back. All right, and now we're gonna switch down and test out the telephoto 12 megapixel sensor. So let's switch down. And now let's do the same testing with the 12 megapixel telephoto sensor. So let's pan through. We're gonna start from here. And we're gonna pan all the way through to right about there and back. We're gonna do this one 2 times as well. So that was 1. Here we go with number 2. And let's come on back. Okay. And let's switch back to the ultra wide. And now let's test the exposure. All right, so when we test the exposure, we want a nice even transition from the lighter areas of the scene to the darker areas of the scene with minimal to no exposure blowout. And if the cameras do blow out, we want them to recover as evenly and as quickly as possible. So we're gonna test all 3 cameras here. Let's start off with the ultra wide first. So lining up on that tree in the center, and we're gonna pan down to the ground. Okay, and come up. We're gonna do this 2 times. So that was 1. What do y'all think? Let's go down again. And here's number 2. Boom. So that was the ultra-wide camera testing out the exposure. That looked pretty good based on what I saw through the viewfinder here. Let's switch down to the primary 12 megapixel sensor. All right, and let's run it again. So let's pan down, try to keep my hands in the same positions. Pan down, and come up. That was 1. Pan down, and come up. That was 2. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Now, let's switch down to the 12 megapixel telephoto sensor and let's run it one more time for the 1 time. Here we go, lined up on that tree. Let's pan down. And let's pan up. That's 1. Let's pan down again. And let's pan up. That's 2. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Let me change back to the ultra wide. Now, let's do some focus testing. Now, all 3 of the primary cameras have the same layout. So you can do focus controls, you can do exposure controls, and all of them have really nice stabilization and colors. So the first focus test we're gonna do is testing out continuous autofocus. So we're gonna let the cameras do everything. Then I'm gonna readjust my grip and we're gonna test out tap to focus. And we're gonna do this on all 3 cameras. All right, here we go. Ultra wide first. And we're gonna pick out our 3 usual focal subjects. So the bushes to the left right here, the tree in the center that we've been using, and the pillar off to the right here. Okay, and we're gonna do continuous autofocus first. So we're gonna let the cameras control everything. And y'all let me know how you feel the cameras perform comparing the continuous autofocus to the tap to focus. Here we go. So bushes to the left. That looks good. We're gonna do each one 2 times. Tree to the center. That also looks good. Pillar to the right. So that was 1. Let's go again. Bushes to the left. Tree to the center, pillar to the right. That was 2. Let me bring it back. Let me adjust my grip. Here we go. Tap to focus. Here we go. Bushes to the left. Tap, locked up. Again, almost instantly. Tree to the center. Tap, locked up. Again, instant locked. And pillar to the right. Tap it, lock it up. Really good stuff here. One more time. Bushes to the side, tap, locked up. Tree to the center, tap, locked up. And pillar to the other side, tap, locked up. So in my opinion here, but this is in really good lighting, the autofocus is really good and the tap to focus is really good as well. But again, this is in really good lighting, so I would expect that. Now, let us round out the test now. Well, not yet. Got to do the primary cameras next. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry, everyone. So primary 12 megapixel camera here. Let's do the same test. So continuous autofocus first. So coming over here. That looks good. Coming to the center. That also looks good. Coming to the right. That also looks really good. Let's go again. 2 times each. That was 1. Bushes to the left, looking good. Tree to the center, looking good. Pillar to the right, looking real good. All right, let me adjust my grip. Tap to focus time, ready? Bushes to the left, tap, locked up. Tree to the center, tap, locked up. Pillar to the right, tap, locked up. Let's go again, one more time for the 1 time. Bushes to the left, tap, locked up. Tree to the center, tap, locked up. Pillar to the right, tap, locked up. All right, good stuff there. That was 2. And now let's go down to the telephoto 12 megapixel sensor and do the same 3 subjects again. So bushes to the left. Woo! Much more shakier with the telephoto here. Bushes to the left. Tree to the center. Pillar to the right. What do y'all think? One more time for the continuous autofocus. Bushes to the left. Tree to the center. Pillar to the right. Okay, let me adjust my grip. Here we go. Oh boy, this is a shaky one here. All right, here we go. Bushes to the left, tap it, locked up. Tree to the center, tap, locked up. Pillar to the right, tap, locked up. Really good tap to focus and really good autofocus based on what I'm seeing through the viewfinder here. Let's go one more time. That was the first one. Bushes to the left, tap, locked up. Tree to the center, tap, locked up. Pillar to the right, tap, locked up. Really good stuff here. And now, let's test out the detail retention by doing a zoom test to close out the test. So we're gonna try and get our focus on that big tree all the way in the distance there. All right, let me switch out to the ultra wide so I can show y'all that big tree all the way in the distance, way over there. You see him right there. And we're gonna dial it in for the best viewing experience. So we're gonna tap on it to get the focus on it. We're gonna lock the focus on it by tapping and holding. Then we're gonna dial in the exposure by hitting the slider. So I'm gonna bring the exposure up just a little bit. Okay, that looks perfect. So the focus is locked, the exposure is locked, and we're starting off here with the ultra wide camera, and the ultra wide camera has a 120 degree field of view. All right, and it's showing up as 0.5 times zoom. Now for the ultra wide camera, you can zoom anywhere between 0.5 times and 0.9 times and still stay on the ultra wide camera. But once you switch down to 1 times, you're on the primary 12 megapixel camera. And for me, using either 0.5 times or 0.9 times is the best in my experience. So that was 0.5, and here we have 0.9. And I really like 0.9 here because we still maintain a really nice wide image with really nice detail and stabilization. Okay, now let's switch down to the primary 12 megapixel camera. So now we're on the primary 12 megapixel sensor. And when I use the primary sensor, I pretty much like to use it between 1.5 times or 2.5 times. So here you can see it's at 1 times, but let me show you what 1.5 looks like. So if we tap and hold, we can slide to 1.5. So here's 1.5 times zoom. And to me, this looks really good through the viewfinder. Really good. Gives you that nice punched in image. Okay, and then even further still, if we go up to 2.5 times right here, you can see we're still maintaining really good detail, really good colors, and really good stabilization, but we have an even better cropped in image. All right, and for the primary cameras, those are the zoom focal lengths that I like to use. So on the primary camera, I would recommend 1 times, 1.5 times, or 2.5 times. Okay, let's keep going now. So now let's switch down to the telephoto sensor. And when you tap on it, it automatically goes to 3 times zoom. All right, now if I'm being 100% honest, when I use the telephoto sensor, this is where I like to stay at 3 times zoom. But the most I would go up to with the telephoto sensor is 3.5 times zoom. Let me show it to you now. So if we tap and hold, I can go to 3.5 times zoom here, which is right here. And look at this. It still maintains almost all of the colors. We still have really good detail. The stabilization is really good still, even though my hands are starting to cramp, so I'm gonna do this quick. But this is why I really don't go any further than 3.5 times zoom, and I'm going to show this to y'all right now. So once you go past a certain point, so if we go to 4 times, let's say, so let's press and hold, let's go to 4 times, look at the details start to degrade. So here's 4 times, here's 5 times, right here, here's 7.5, and here's 9. Look at how washed out that detail got. Look at the stabilization. Any little movement makes the camera really seem shaky. But for me, I don't like to max out the zoom here, which is 9 times zoom, because it washes out the image and we lose a lot of the detail from the image. So from the viewfinder here, it's looking really, really pixelated and washed out. This is why I would recommend, if you want to zoom in on your subject, once you go past 3.5 times zoom, if you feel like you need to get closer, you need to physically move closer, okay? Because this to me is not a good image. It's washed out, it's pixelated. I would not use this, okay? So there you guys and gals have it, a full test of all 3 of the primary cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, okay? And a few of my recommendations for using the primary cameras. And another thing that I like to do, which is why I'm a big fan of it, is use the ultra-wide camera for vlog footage. So if we go back to the ultra-wide camera here, and I'm just gonna spin it around, I don't even have to frame it up. I'm just gonna spin it around and try to get it as centered as possible. And look at how good this vlog style footage is gonna look with the ultra wide cameras here. So let's go ahead and spin it. All right, and look at this. I can already tell y'all, and I can't even see the viewfinder, but I know this looks really, really good. Now, my hands are cramping, so I'm gonna go really, really quick. But this is a big reason why I prefer to use an ultra wide camera and a primary camera exclusively. This is why I'm a big fan of ultra wide cameras, because I'm sure this is framed up really, really good, and I don't even have to think about it. All right, so this concludes the testing for the front and the rear facing. I don't even know what to do with my hands. This concludes the testing for the front and the rear facing cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max in 1080p resolution with no external no external microphone hooked up. My mistake, I'm not cutting that out. Let me know what you guys and gals think. Now, let's run inside and we're gonna retest all the cameras in indoors, daytime, low light settings here. So give me a little bit, I'm gonna run inside, we're gonna get set up, and I'm gonna come back with some more clips for everyone. All right, see you in a little. All right, everyone, and now we're testing out the cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max indoors in daytime low light settings here. And starting off the testing, we're testing out the front-facing 12 megapixel camera in a nice stationary vlog style test. So let me know what you guys and gals think of the front-facing 12 megapixel camera in this indoor daytime low light scenario. Also, let me know what you guys and gals think of the overall audio, the overall stabilization, and the overall video quality. Again, all of your feedback is greatly appreciated down below in the comments. Keep your feedback respectful, please. All right, let me spin the cameras around and let's get into testing out the rear-facing primary cameras in the same indoor low-light scenario. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back with everyone for the next set of clips. I'll see y'all in a little bit. All right, everyone, and now we're gonna test out the primary triple 12 megapixel camera setup on the iPhone 13 Pro Max indoors and daytime low light settings here. Let me do some quick verifications for everyone, and then we'll go ahead and jump into the testing. All right, so here we're starting off the testing with the ultra wide 12 megapixel camera with its 120 degree field of view. And if I pan over here, you guys and gals can see that there is no other lighting source for today's video. All right, you can see one of my 2 professional studio lights is turned off. my smart lamp lights and my smart overhead lights are turned off. The only thing we have lighting up the scene here today is the natural light coming in through the window. And you can see all I did was open my blinds and crack my shades. All right, so this is indeed an indoor daytime low light test. All right, so verifications being done. Now let me angle everything up in the traditional reviewer style angle, and let's dive into the testing. Let's do this. So let me make sure it's nice and straight on, and then I want to go ahead and angle it down. All right, and there we have it. Let me slide forward just a touch, and there we have it. That looks pretty much perfect. So now this is an example of how the ultra-wide cameras would perform in daytime low light settings here. And I gotta be honest with y'all, looking at how this is looking through the viewfinder, this looks more than usable in my opinion. All right, so now let's go ahead and do some testing now. So let's do some focus tests, let's do some detail retention tests, and then we'll switch to the other primary cameras. So like I said earlier in the other clips, all of the cameras can pretty much do the same thing. So they all have focus controls, they all have exposure controls, and they are, in terms of color science, lined up very, very nicely. So even with the ultra-wide camera here in this low light scenario, you should have no issues reading the text on my keyboard here. So how legible and how readable is the text on my keyboard here? And what's really nice about the ultra-wide camera is you can get everything in the field of view. So I don't even have to pan this through like I'm going to have to do with the other cameras when we start testing them. But again, let me know how legible and how readable are these keys on my keyboard. This actually looks really, really good. And based on what I'm seeing through the viewfinder, I have no issues reading this. Okay? So that was test number one. Now, let's move on to something with a little bit more detail and something that will be a little bit harder to get the detail out of in this lower light scenario. So y'all can see I have one of my favorite devices in the S7 Active right here. And let's see how much detail the ultra-wide primary and telephoto cameras can retain in this lower light scenario here. So getting in nice and tight. How much detail is the ultra-wide camera picking up off the back of the device? It's definitely a noticeable loss in detail based on what I'm seeing through the viewfinder, but this is, again, more than usable. The primary thing with the ultra-wide camera is the field of view. And another nice thing with the ultra-wide camera on the iPhone is it does have macro support. So you can see if I line up the smaller text in a certain angle, and once the light hits it, I can actually read that text. But what do y'all think? How legible and how readable is the text when using the ultra-wide camera, especially when you focus on smaller text? Okay? Definitely struggling here, but still usable, but definitely struggling here. All right? Now, let's switch to the primary cameras and test those. And again, I want y'all to pay special attention to the bump in detail, but also the loss in field of view. All right, so check this out. I'm not gonna move anything. We're gonna keep it all in the same position. So here's the ultra wide, and I'm just gonna switch to the primary. Look at the difference in look at the difference in field of view, but also look at the difference or bump in detail for the image. Again, not adjusting anything yet. Here's the primary 12 megapixel sensor, and let's switch to the ultra wide. Look at that. All right, now let's switch down to the primary, and let me angle this up similar to how the ultra wide camera was. So let me back up a little bit. Okay, and then let me angle it down a little bit more. Okay. And that looks very, very similar to how it was looking on the ultra-wide cameras. All right, so now let's do some detail and focus testing with the primary cameras here. Let's go. So, like I said earlier, look at the bump in detail. This is definitely readable with ease. But also, look at the loss in field of view. So now I'm going to have to pan this through so y'all can see the entirety of my keyboard. And again, how readable and or legible is the keys or are the keys on my keyboard. Here we go. So panning through. What do y'all think? And let's pan back through. What do y'all think? Definitely a bump in detail in my opinion, but I'm definitely feeling the loss in field of view. All right, now let's do some focus testing with the primary sensor. So bringing back in my S7 Active right here, look at the bump in detail. It has no issues picking up the nice stipple pattern on the back of my S7 Active right here. And it is giving a nice shallow depth of field effect that is occurring naturally, okay? That's really, really nice. But look at that. Now let's go down to the text and look at how much more legible that smaller text is with the primary 12 megapixel camera. I easily have no issues reading this. No issues whatsoever. Straight through the viewfinder. What do you guys and gals think? Now, let's see how quickly it will relock focus on the keyboard when I take my device out. We're going to do this 2 times. So here comes number 1. 3, 2, 1, go. Boom. Now it does do a nice gradient shift back into focus, but some of y'all may not like that hesitation, but I do think that is a nice touch. Okay? But it did do a fairly good job of relocking focus. Let's bring the device back in. And it does do a fairly good job of really quickly locking focus as well. Let's go back to that smaller text. And again, how readable and or legible is this? And one more time, let's see how quickly it relocks focus on the keyboard when I take my device out. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Boom. And again, a nice gradient relocking of focus back on the keyboard. All right. So this, guys and gals, concludes the testing for the front and rear facing cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max in indoors daytime low light settings here. Okay. Let me know what you guys and gals think. Okay. All right. Now, a little bit later on in the evening, I'm going to retest the cameras in nighttime artificial light settings, and we'll move forward from there. So it's going to be a couple seconds for you guys and gals, but it's going to be a couple hours for me. So I'll see you guys and gals in a little bit. All right. All right, everyone, and now we are testing out the front and rear facing cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max in nighttime artificial lighting scenarios here. And starting off the testing, we're testing out the front-facing 12 megapixel camera in a real nice vlog style quick stationary test here. So let me know what you guys and gals think of the front-facing cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Also, let me know what you guys and gals think of the overall audio, the overall video quality, the overall stabilization, all that good stuff. As always, leave your feedback down below in the comments. All right, let me spin the cameras around and let's get into testing out the rear-facing triple 12 megapixel camera setup in this same scenario. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back with everyone for the next set of clips. I'll see y'all in a little bit. All right, y'all. Now, as promised, we're testing out the rear-facing triple 12 megapixel camera setup on the iPhone 13 Pro Max in nighttime artificial lighting scenarios. So I'm going to do some quick verifications and then we're going to jump into the testing. Once again, this clip is being recorded at 1080p at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. Let's go. Now, panning over here, just for verification purposes, you guys and gals can see it's pitch black outside, okay? I do not, however, have my studio lights turned on, but I do, however, have my smart lamps turned on and my overhead smart lights turned on. So this is indeed a nighttime artificial lighting test. Okay? Quick verification for everyone. Now, let's pan everything over and set everything up in the traditional reviewer style angle. And let's get into the testing here. So that looks about straight. Let me pan everything down. And that's what we're looking like here. So now you can see this is what the ultra wide cameras would look like in a nighttime artificial lighting scenario here. Okay? And once again, as I've been saying throughout the testing of these cameras, one thing that I want y'all to pay attention to as we continue on with the testing is the differences between the different camera lenses. Okay? In particular, with the ultra wide, the primary, and the telephoto, I want you to pay attention to the difference in field of view. Okay? Just how much is actually being caught in the frame, and detail differences and quality differences between the cameras. All right? Now, once again, let's do some detail testing and some focus testing. So picking up my keyboard here, how do y'all feel it looks here? How's the legibility of the keys? Let me know what y'all think down below in the comments. And one thing I like about the ultra wide camera is you can actually get everything in the frame, and this is decent usable quality in my opinion. So I really like using the ultra wide cameras for that reason. Okay, and even further still, with the iPhone 13 Pro Max, the ultra wide cameras actually have a macro mode, making them very good or decent at close-up shots. Okay, so what do y'all think? What do y'all think? Okay, now let's bring in the old but reliable S7 Active right here, one of my all-time favorite devices. And again, let's check the detail. So how do you guys and gals feel the ultra wide camera is doing, retaining the detail on the back of the device in this lighting scenario here? Okay, let's go down to some smaller text. Okay, and you can see it's definitely struggling, but when the light hits it just right, it is readable. But it's definitely struggling in this artificial lighting scenario, at least with the ultra wide cameras. Okay? Okay. I don't think we need to go any further than that with the ultra wide cameras. So now let's switch down to the primary cameras now, and let me highlight the differences in field of view and the quality differences between the lenses. So jumping down to the primary camera, notice how much we lost in terms of field of view, but notice how much we gained in terms of detail and quality here. Okay, let me show you again. So primary, ultra wide, primary. Okay, now to position the primary in a similar angle to the ultra wide, I actually got to back up a little bit, right about there, and then I got to pan down just a touch. Right about here. Perfect. And now this is very similar to the angle that I was getting with the ultra wide camera. Okay? And this is what the primary camera would perform like in this artificial lighting scenario. So now let's go ahead and do some detail testing and some focus testing, and then we'll wrap up the video. So picking back up my keyboard here, notice holding my keyboard at the same distance, we have a noticeable bump in detail. So much more legible keys, much more readable keys. And you can see the primary camera even can pick up the texture on the keys, which is really nice. But notice the primary camera cannot get the whole keyboard in the frame at this distance. So I do have to pan it through so y'all can see the entire keyboard, right? So panning it through and panning it back through, right? But the detail here is noticeably better than the ultra wide camera. I have to say so myself, especially based on what I'm seeing through the viewfinder. But you guys and gals, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Okay, Now let's do some focus testing here. Okay, so picking up the S7 Active yet again. Look at how much more detail the primary 12 megapixel camera picks up over the ultra wide cameras. You can definitely make out the stipple pattern on the back of the device here. Really, really nice. You can also make out, you know, the wear and tear on the device here. Really, really nice. And it's giving you a nice shallow depth of field going on in the background here. Really, really nice touch. And then going down to the smaller text. Again, once the light hits it just right, this is definitely readable here. So if I hold it up and the light hits it just right, you can definitely read all of that text. And honestly, I have no problems reading this through the viewfinder here. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Now, let's see how quickly it will relock focus on the keyboard when I take my device out. Let's see. Ready? We're going to do this twice. 3, 2, 1, go. And it's still doing that gradual shifting, relocking focus that it has been doing throughout the entirety of the testing. Okay? I guess that's just an iPhone thing. So it doesn't relock focus very fast. It kind of does it in a gradual shift, but it's okay. Let's test it out one more time. So let me bring my device back in. So you can see it does relock focus quickly, depending on how close or how far away you have your focal subject. Let's go back to that smaller text. Again, how readable, how legible is that? All right. And now let's take it out one more time. 3, 2, 1, go. And it kind of gradually shifts back in. Okay? But still, in my opinion, decent refocusing speeds. Okay? And finally, let's test out the telephoto lens here. So bumping it down to the 12 megapixel telephoto lens. Look at the detail here, right? Now for the telephoto lens, you really would be using it for like portraits or far away shots. But look at that detail here. You can definitely tell the difference in the scene here because it is a little bit more of a grainy image with the artificial light that we're using today. But still, this is more than legible and readable here. And again, if I tilt it and the light hits it just right, you can still pick up the nice texture on the keys. So really, really good telephoto camera here. Okay? And this, guys and gals, essentially completes the testing of the cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max in nighttime artificial lighting scenarios here. Okay? Now, a little bit later on in the week, probably tomorrow, I'm going to retest the cameras again for the final time outside in the big yard, and we're going to be recording in 4K at 30 FPS. And then I'm going to let you guys and gals know how I feel about the iPhone 13 Pro Max in terms of the device itself and in terms of the overall camera performance and whether or not I can recommend that you still pick it up here in late to mid 2025. So y'all stay tuned. It's going to be a couple seconds for y'all between the clips, but it's going to be a couple hours to a couple days for me in between these clips. So I'll be right back with the final set of clips for everyone. See y'all in a little bit. All right, everyone. And now we're going to get into testing out the rear and front facing cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max for the final time. So we're out here in the big yard today and we're going to go through all the testing and we're going to end up with a zoom test. And then I'm going to test the front facing cameras for the final time and give you guys and gals my final thoughts as to how I feel about the device overall and how I feel about the cameras overall and whether or not I can recommend you guys and gals still pick up the iPhone 13 Pro Max here in mid to late 2025. All right, without further ado, let's get into the final test clips for the video. Let's do this. So starting off, we're gonna pan from here, okay, all the way through to right about there and back. And we're starting off with the ultra wide camera first. We're gonna do 2 pans each and then switch cameras. Here we go. So that was 1. Here we go with number 2. Come on back to the center. Switch to the primary camera. So now we're on the primary 12 megapixel sensor. Let's run it again. From here, all the way through to right about there and back. So that's 1. Coming on back. Here's number 2. All right, come on back to the center. So that was the pan test. Now let's do the exposure test. Let's switch back to the ultra wide. So we're gonna line up on this mango tree in front of us here, and we're gonna pan up and down to the ground. And when we do the exposure test, we want a nice even transition from the lighter areas of the scene to the darker areas of the scene with minimal to no exposure blowout. And today's video is a really good test because we have combinations of good lighting, really good lighting, and really bad lighting because it's kind of thunderstormy today. But this was one of the days where I can get out here and actually record, so we're gonna do this test no matter what. So let's go. We're gonna test each camera 2 times. We're gonna pan up and down 2 times, and let's see how the exposure does. Ultra wide camera first, here we go. Lined up on the tree, coming down. Okay. And coming back up. That's 1. Coming down again. And coming back up. That's 2. All right, how y'all feel the ultra wide cameras did? Let's switch to the primary lenses. Here we go. Primary cameras, exposure test. Let's do this. Coming down and going up. 1. Coming down and going up. Oh boy, it feels like it's starting to rain again. That's 2. All right, so how do y'all feel the primary cameras did for testing out the exposure here? Let me know down below in the comments below. All right, now let's test out the focus. So starting off with the ultra wide cameras, and we're gonna use our 3 typical focal subjects here. So we're gonna use this mango tree in front of us. We're gonna use the big tree over the shed right there. And we're gonna use this mango tree off to my right here. Those are gonna be our 3 focal subjects, all right? And we're gonna test this out in 2 distinctive ways. So we're gonna test the primary and the ultra wide cameras, and we're gonna test it continuous autofocus style and tap to focus style. We're gonna do each one 2 times. Here we go. Starting off continuous autofocus first. So let's go. Tree over the shed. That looks good. Tree in front. That also looks good. Tree to the right. That also looks good. That's 1. Going again. Tree over the shed. And we got those clouds coming in. And I feel the rain dripping. But we're going to do the test no matter what. Tree over the shed. Mango tree in front. Mango tree to the right. That's 2. Now let me adjust my grip here. Tap to focus time. Here we go. Tree over the shed. Tap. Locked up. Still super fast focus here. Mango tree in front. Tap. Locked up. Again, super fast focus. My bad. Shout out to super saf. All right. Mango tree to the right. Tap. Locked up. Really good stuff there. One more time. Tree over the shed, tap, locked up, and it's kind of doing a slight exposure shift. I guess it's trying to lock in for the lighting that it thinks the cameras need. Tree in the center, tap, locked up. Much better over here when we talk about the focal point in the center. And mango tree to the right, tap, locked up. Good stuff there. Let's switch to the primary cameras now and redo the test. Continuous autofocus first. Here we go. Tree over the shed. Ooh, bumping the camera all around. Shaky Cam Productions. That looks good. Tree in front. That also looks good. Look at that mango looking delicious. It's still green, but oh, it's gonna be a good one. All right, and tree to the right. Good, 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 good. Tree over the shed. Good there, good there. Mango tree in front. Let me get in tight on this mango here. That y'all see this deliciousness that's gonna be. That looks good. And mango tree to the right. Get locked in on that leaf right there. Good stuff. That's 2. Let me adjust my grip. Tap the focus time. Let's go. Tree over the shed. Tap. Locked up. A little bit less exposure struggles there. Mango tree in front. Tap. Locked up. Perfectly locked on that mango. Swinging in the breeze. I see you. And mango tree to the right. Let's lock in on these leaves. Tap. Locked up. Good stuff there. One more time. Tree over the shed. Tap. Locked up. Mango tree in front. Tap. Locked up. Mango tree to the right. Tap. Locked up. Good stuff there. So honestly, guys and gals, regardless of whether you're indoors or outdoors, the continuous autofocus and tap to focus on the iPhone 13 Pro Max is really good, as to is the rest of the camera performance. Now, to close out the video, we're going to zoom all the way in to that tree way in the distance over there, past the mango trees. But look at those lovely mangoes looking delicious right there. And we're going to test the detail retention, the stabilization, the focus, and the exposure, because that's what we're going to dial in for this last part of the video. So I'm going to lock focus on the tree in the distance. Tap and hold, get that focus lock. We're going to dial in the exposure just right. Let me bring it up. Oh, that's a little bit too much. Bring it perfect. That's perfect for the scene. And now we're going to zoom in through the ranges here. We're going to start out with the ultra wide first. So now here we are on the ultra wide 120 degree field of view camera at 0.5 times zoom. And I'm going to take y'all through my favorite recommended ranges all the way up to the max zoom. And I'm starting to get rained on, so I got to do this quick. So this is 0.5 times. Now my all-time favorite recommendation for the ultra wide is right here, 0.9 times. Okay? Then we're going to switch to the primary. It's 1 times right here. Okay? And my 3 recommendations for the primary are 1 times right here, 1.5 times right here, and 2.5 times right here. Those are all 3 of my favorite recommended zoom focal ranges for the primary camera. So 1 times, 1.5 times, or 2.5 times. Switching over to the telephoto lens. This is primarily where I like to use the telephoto lens when I'm zooming into something far away, or I'm trying to dial in that really good selfie with a nice blurred out background. But I typically keep it right here at 3 times zoom, which is where it starts. Or I go up to 3.5 times. So right here, 3.5 times. That's the most that I do with the telephoto, primary, and ultra wides. And those are my recommendations. But let me show y'all the maximum zoom for the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So 3.5 times, let's go 4.5 times. 4.5 times, let's go 6 times. 6 times right here. Okay? 6 times, let's max it out. 9 times zoom. And you can see it right here through the viewfinder here. If the video reproduction is anything like what I'm seeing through the viewfinder, this is looking very pixelated. This is looking very washed out. And it's looking very shaky, even though I'm trying to keep my hands as steady as possible. And this right here is why I never recommend using the maximum zoom range for your smartphone's cameras, because this is what happens. After a certain range, it just digitally crops the image, which just degrades the image. But if you stick to any one of those recommendations that I showed you throughout the video so far, you should get some really good overall performance. All right, let's bring it back. And now, before I switch to the front-facing camera, I just want to show y'all another one of my favorite shooting styles with the ultra-wide, doing a real quick vlog-style test with the ultra-wide camera for the final time. I'm getting wet, but it is what it is. Got to get that content. Here we go. So we're on the ultra-wide, and we're just going to turn the camera around. Boom. And this should be a really nice ultra-wide camera shot with the ultra-wide cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And I do apologize if I'm doing this quickly because I'm getting wet. The cameras is getting wet. The phone is waterproof, but the camera lenses do have a crack in it, and I don't want water to get in there. But let me know what y'all think of this ultra-wide vlog-style test with the iPhone 13 Pro Max for the final time. Now, let me switch to the front-facing camera, and we'll close out this video, and I'll let y'all know my final thoughts. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back with everyone for the final test clip. See y'all in a little bit. All right, everyone, and now we're testing out the front-facing 12-megapixel camera on the iPhone 13 Pro Max for the final time. And this also is being recorded in 4K at 30 FPS with no external microphone hooked up. All right, let me know what you guys and gals think of this vlog style stationary clip here out here in the big yard in 4K. But let's not waste any time because I'm getting rained on. You see my Apple Watch is wet, so I want to get inside, and I do have to dry the device off because the device is getting wet. So let's not waste any time with this final clip. So overall, how do I feel about the cameras on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and how do I feel about the device overall? I have used it with my tester sim in it for 2 weeks, and it was a hard 2 weeks. So I'm gonna give y'all my overall thoughts and recommendations on everything, not just the cameras. And I might not do a full review for the device, but here at least you guys and gals will get to know my overall thoughts. Okay, so overall, let's touch on the camera performance first. Talking about the cameras on this device, this is a really good device in regards to the cameras. Regardless of whatever 12 megapixel camera you want to use on the device, you're going to get some great performance. Okay, whether you're using the front facing 12 megapixel camera, the rear facing primary 12 megapixel camera, the rear facing ultra wide 12 megapixel camera, or the 12 megapixel telephoto camera, you're going to get some good performance or great performance with either camera that you decide to use on the device. You just want to make sure that you keep the camera lenses clean, get rid of them smudges, and you have good to really good lighting. Even in lower light, it still performs really well, but for the best performance, you need good to really good lighting. But regardless of whatever camera you want to use on the device, this camera or this device should be great for camera production or content production, or even just family photos and family memories. This is a great device in regards to the cameras. Okay, so if you're looking at picking up a pro level iPhone and you don't want to break the bank picking up the 15 Pro, the 16 Pro, even the 14 Pro, you want to save some money and still get a device with some really great cameras, I can definitely recommend that y'all pick up the 13 Pro Max here. Okay, you can have it for a really great price and you get some really great cameras across the board. So can I recommend picking up this device strictly based off of its camera's performance? I would have to say yes, yes indeed. That being said, switching topics now, can I recommend that y'all pick up the device overall here in mid to late 2025? Well, I'm gonna have to say yes yet again. And this is why I say yes is because in terms of performance, all right, overall fluidity, overall battery life, overall size, the iPhone 13 Pro Max is basically the same as something akin to the iPhone 15 Plus, which I also have here. Okay, and I have to say the performance is the same, the battery life is the same, everything is the same. So the fact that you can get an iPhone 15-like experience on an older device and save a lot of money, because you can actually find the 13 Pro Max, depending on where you look, for between $300 and about $450. Okay, depending on storage, color, and configuration, those are the prices. And that can be had for a lot cheaper than what you could have the 13 Pro Max, the 14 Pro Max, the 15 Pro Max, or the 16 Pro Max for. And that's even in the recommendation that I would recommend, or that's even in the configuration that I would recommend, which is the 256 gigabyte variant. That's what I would recommend. Okay, so based off of just device performance, I would have to say yes, I can still recommend y'all pick up the iPhone 13 Pro Max here in late to mid 2025. And even further still, if y'all are thinking, yo, well, what about software? What about security? Am I gonna be okay even if I pick up an older device like this right here? And this is where I would have to say yes. Apple has a track record, and I've experienced this myself, because up until I sold my iPhone 11, I was still running the latest and greatest software, and the iPhone 11 can still get the latest and greatest software in terms of iOS, okay? And that device is way older than this device. And this device is actually slated to get between 5 and upwards of 8 years of security and support, okay? With an additional 2 years of security patches after that. So that means that this device will technically be good in terms of software all the way up to 2030. That's right, 2030. So as long as you can put up with some minor gripes like the lightning connector, and as long as you can put up with some minor gripes like the notch, this is still a great device. Now for me, the one thing that's a deal breaker for me is the lightning connector. I already told you guys, I converted over my whole thing to USB Type-C. Everything that I charge in my daily life, in my daily activities, uses USB Type-C. Now, I was able to get around the lightning connector on the 13 Pro Max here because I do have MagSafe everything as well. And the fact that this does support MagSafe means that I do not have to worry about using the slower speeds from the lightning connector. I can just get the fastest 15-watt speeds from using the MagSafe. And the fact that the battery life on here is so good, I don't even have to worry about, oh, I'm gonna run out of battery. Nope. So even though the lightning connector is a deal breaker for me because I converted everything, I can still comfortably recommend that you guys and gals go out there and pick up this device. And being completely honest with y'all, this device is probably going to be the primary production device for the channel moving forward until I get something else. All right, so I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this video. I hope you guys and gals found it helpful. If you did, you guys and gals know what to do. Please help your boy out by giving the video a thumbs up. That really does help me out. You don't know how much. This is going to be a longer video, so all the timestamps will be located down below in the video description. So please feel free to check out those timestamps and jump around to different parts of the video that you guys and gals would like to know more about. That being said, I'll link up all of my extended coverage on the iPhone 13 Pro Max and all of my extended coverage on the iPhone 15 Plus down below in the video description as well, so y'all can check out other iOS related content, okay? And I'm gonna try and make it so the 13 Pro Max camera review here also comes out at the same time as the 15 Plus camera review. This way y'all can watch both videos side by side. Y'all can pull them up in two different tabs on your computer and watch them side by side, and, you know, compare the cameras for yourself. Or y'all can watch them one after the other and compare the cameras for yourself, and hopefully this helps you with making your purchasing decision. Hope everyone's having a great day. Hope everyone is staying safe out there, and I will catch everyone in the next video. Have a good one, everybody. We're out of here. Peace. All right, we're getting rained on. It let up for a little bit, but it looks like it's going to start again, and those clouds are getting dark. So I'm pretty sure this video has gotten dark as I've been recording it. Have a good one, everyone. Catch you guys and gals in the next one. Peace.